Okay, so you're going to be given problems in all kinds of different formats, asking you to find these key features. Okay, and so let's start. In this case, they gave me a line and they gave me a table. I can find everything I need from both of these pieces. Okay, the first thing, I don't know why, but the first thing I always find is my y-intercept. Remember, my y-intercept is where it crosses the line, and it's the ordered pair that begins with 0. So my y-intercept is 0, 4. All right. The next easiest thing to find, if it's there, is my x-intercept. Now, I think the x-intercept is 10, 0. So my 0, I think, is 10. But I want to look. I happen to also see 10, 0 on my graph. So I feel pretty good about that being my 0. Now, the reason I say this is because I have seen graphs in the past where it looks like it's really close, but then it ends up not being the 0. And then you do all your math thinking you've got the 0. So we just have to be really careful about that. All right. The next thing they might ask us to find, again, these are all of our key features, is our slope. So for mine, I'm going to fall 4, and I'm going to run 10, which is negative 2 fifths. Now again, you could put negative 0.4 for this. You could put negative 2 fifths, but you can't put negative 4 tenths because that fraction is not reduced. Okay, so my equation for this one is y equals negative 2 fifths x plus 4. Okay, so that's our first one. Easy, right? Seems pretty easy to me. Now, the next one, they gave me an equation and they want me to find all this stuff. Now, sure, I could put it in my calculator, but if they give me a graph, remember, I'm responsible for identifying these key features on graphs. So I need to practice putting them on graphs so I can practice actually finding them. So when I see f of x equals 3x, the first thing I know I need to do is I need to make a table of values so that I can graph them. I like to do negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2 because it gets me through the origin, you know, and again, if I have to go out further to find my zeros or my y-intercept, I will, but I like to start here, okay? So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, okay? Now I can plot these points. Negative 2, negative 6, negative 1, negative 3, 0, 0, 1, 3, 2, 6, and then I connect them because that's what I do. All right, and now there's my line. Now, they want me to find these key features. Well, first of all, I know that if I'm looking for my y-intercept, I'm looking for the row that starts with 0. So that's 0, 0. If I want my x-intercept, I want the row that ends in 0. Well, hey, look at that. There's my x-intercept. They're the same. So whenever we have a proportional relationship, our x-intercept and our y-intercept are both 0. Now, they gave me the slope. I'm using the wrong color. Darn it. Okay, well, they gave me the slope right here. It's whatever's in front of the x. I can also see my rise and run of 3. Okay? Again, that one was pretty easy. Let's try this one. Now, this one is a little bit more, number 3 is a little bit more, I don't want to say alarming, but a little bit kind of scarier because it gives us a slope and the point, a point and the slope. And remember how, like, last time, giving us the point, a point and the slope was, like, kind of a little terrifying? Well, it's not that bad because now when I'm graphing it, instead of starting at the y-intercept, I'm going to start at whatever point they gave me. Okay? So I'm going to start by plotting a point there, negative 3, negative 9. And then I'm going to use this slope. Now, the slope is rise over run, okay, which is 5 over 1. So I'm going to rise 5, 1, 2, I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, 5, and run 1. And then I'll put a dot there. And then I'll rise 5 more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and run 1. Rise and run. I'm just going to keep on doing that, and then I'll put my points in here in a minute. Right. Okay, and then I kind of went over the top there. So I have points, a point here, I have a point here, and I have a point there. Let me connect those up. Okay, and there's my line. So I can see my y-intercept pretty easily. Okay, my y-intercept is right here because I crossed right over the y-axis, right there, at 0, 6. So I could just write an equation. Okay, y equals 5x plus 6. But here's the problem. Okay, the problem is, in order for me to find my x-intercept, if you look, it doesn't cross perfectly. It's a little bit off. Okay, so I can't just look at that. It kind of looks like it's going through at -1, but it really isn't. So in order for me to find my 0, I'm going to have to use the equation. So remember, my 0 is a number, comma, 0. So that means the y part of my equation is 0. So if I have to use an equation to find my x-intercept, I'm going to put a 0 in for y and solve. So let's look at what that would look like. 0 equals 5x plus 6. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, and that zeroes out. -6 equals 5x. Divide both sides by 5, I get -6/5 equals x, or -1.2 equals x. That means my 0 is -1.2, 0. All right, now we're going to be practicing, that is a pretty basic equation, y'all. So if you're like, I don't know what to do with that, I mean, you're going to have to practice equations a lot. That's a skill that I literally am only given 2 days to help you with. So that's something that if you're struggling with solving simple equations like this, you are really going to have to, I'm going to have to find some stuff for you to work on, you're going to have to find some stuff for you to work on, and you're going to have to actually work at it, because this is a skill you are expected to already be proficient at solving equations, really equations with variables on both sides of the equation. You're expected to be very proficient at solving equations by now. So we'll, if we need to, we'll talk about that later. Let's take a look at this next one here. Okay, it says use the table and graph to identify the key features listed. So this time they give me a table of values. So I'm just going to plot those. I have a point at -6, -2, a point at 0, -1, and a point at 6, 0. All right, I can connect these points up, but I'm already seeing 2 of my key features just from looking at this table. Okay, so I see my y-intercept right here, 0, -1, and I see it right there. I see my x-intercept here at 6, 0, and I see it right there. And if I want to find my slope, all I got to do is rise and run between some points. So I'm going to rise 1, run 6. So my rise over run is 1 over 6. So my equation is y equals 1/6 x minus 1. Now you could put plus -1, and that is not wrong. That's just not how we do it in algebra. So I won't count it wrong if you do it that way, and it's not wrong, but you will never see it written as plus -1. I would be shocked if you ever saw it written like that on a worksheet, on a test question, anywhere. We just don't write it that way in algebra. So I want you to get in the habit of writing it like this. Okay, now these last 2 are word problems. And you look at number 5 and you say, but Mrs. Deal, I see no words. What are you talking about? And in this case, what you have to do is you have to look at the labels on the x and y axis. The x and y axis labels tell you what the situation is, okay? So the situation here is I have a gift card and I have cupcakes. So what that tells me is somebody's buying cupcakes on a gift card. And why would you not buy cupcakes on a gift card? Cupcakes are amazing, okay? So first of all, I see my y-intercept and I see it right here. My y-intercept is at 0, 30, okay? So, what does that mean in this situation? Tell me what you think that means in this situation. Okay, what I'm hoping that you have said is that you start off, the highest value you have is 30. So if you said at 0, there's 30. But at 0 what? At 0 cupcakes, I have $30 on my gift card. That means my gift card started at $30. So I started at $30. Okay? Now, I also see that I've got an x-intercept down here at 12, 0. So that's my 0 is 12, 0. Well, what does that mean? After 12 cupcakes, I've got $0 on my gift card. So that means I can buy 12 cupcakes before I'm out of dollars on my card. Okay? So the last key feature that we have here is our slope. Okay? Well, if I do my slope, which is I'm going to fall down 30 and over 12, that reduces to negative 2.5. So why is the slope negative? Well, the reason the slope is negative is because I'm spending money. Each cupcake costs $2.50. Okay? So again, we've talked about, we have these things here, and we could, let's just take that last step and write the equation. Y equals 30 minus 2.50x. If you wrote negative 250x plus 30, that's also right. But kind of like if you think about what they're saying, you start with 30, you subtract 250 every cupcake until you run out of money. That kind of like, this makes sense, 30 minus 250 per cupcake. This is what we're talking about when we describe what they mean or, explain what they mean. This is what we're talking about. Don't just tell me 0.30. Tell me that means I started at $30. Don't just tell me the slope is negative 2.5. That means each cupcake costs $2.50. That's what we're trying to do. We spend a lot of time in algebra working on that. That's one of the big things that we talk about. I'm going to save number 6 for class tomorrow just in case we need to go over another word problem example. But hopefully you've gotten through all this. You have all these notes written down. My expectation is that you will have all of this written down. And if you don't, I'm going to be grumpy. Y'all have a great day.